Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. It's my birthday this week, and I kind of claimed the whole month of December because everyone is so busy with holiday preparations and parties and the like that, I got so many friends that, oh man, I missed your birthday, can we get together? And it's like, yeah man, as far as I'm concerned, it's my birthday till December 31st. So thank you very much for listening to this, and more podcasts coming this month of Word Balloon. Questions or comments about the show, john@wordballoon.com. Please reach me via email. That's the way to do it. And follow me on Twitter under John Word Balloon. Follow me on Facebook under my name, John Suntress. Thank you very much for listening to the commercials. I know that they sometimes repeat the same commercials. Out of my hands, that is my fine network, Spreaker, selling the product. I thank them very much. I thank you for your patience in listening to repeat commercials till we get to the good content of Word Balloon. The good stuff is coming in one more minute. Thanks a lot for listening. Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon and welcome to the weekend. It's John Suntress and a great conversation today with Patrick Schumacher. Now you might remember a couple years ago when the NBC show Powerless was on the air. Vanessa Hudgens, Alan Tudyk, among others. Great series. Well, I'll be honest, the series had problems, but I think it kind of got its shit together at the end in the last few episodes, including an incredible final episode that only aired on YouTube. It didn't air on NBC, but it was Adam West's final on-screen performance. And while he wasn't a Wayne, but he was working for the Wayne Foundation in a business capacity, and was his usual zany self right till the end. Great stuff. Well, Patrick now is the showrunner of the new Harley Quinn animated series that's running on DC Universe's streaming service, but also come Sunday, this Sunday, they will be showing the first episode of Harley Quinn on TBS in between the superhero movies. Check your local listings, but that's great. And it's going to give everyone a chance to see this very funny show. It has a real Archer, Rick and Morty bent to it as far as its kind of irreverent humor, but it's very much a DC Universe product in terms of the cameos of other villains. Harley is in there. Of course, the Joker is in there, played by Alan Tudyk. Kaley Cucco is the Harley, and Lake Bell is Poison Ivy, and Diedrich Bader is reprising his role as Batman. Chris Maloney plays Commissioner Gordon. And there's just really funny stuff in there. A lot of other DC villains will pop up. You'll hear about them in my discussion with Patrick. Episode 2 is dropping on Friday on the DC Universe app. So if you're already having the streaming service, you're well aware of that, and I'm sure looking forward to the next episode. Funny as hell. And I'm really excited for Patrick because, go back and listen to our conversation about Powerless. But he kind of came in to kind of clean up. He was not the creator of Powerless. Warner Brothers kind of put him as the showrunner on it. He talks a little bit about it in this episode. So I'm really glad. And he's done other television shows over the years as well, he and his partner, Justin Halpern. But now they are co-showrunners on Harley Quinn. And we hear all about the writers and the cast and everything that makes this show a very funny comedy that's worth your attention. Today it's Patrick Schumacher talking about Harley Quinn on today's Word Balloon. This episode of Word Balloon is brought to you by Cereal Box. You've heard me talk to Cereal Box creators about their work on the Orphan Black sequel that's available exclusively at Cereal Box, with Tatiana Maslany reprising her role as the clones and narrating the series there. Well, Cereal Box is also launching Marvel's Thor: Metal Gods, the first of several original serialized fiction and audiobook series based on Marvel Comics, debuting December 12th. Actor Daniel Gillis, best known for the Vampire Diaries in the originals, will be narrating and bringing Thor and Loki to life. In this story, Thor and Loki race across the universe to untangle a dangerous mystery and stop the return of an ancient evil. Cereal Box has been called the HBO of reading by NPR and selected by BuzzFeed as a must-have app for 2018. They offer premium serialized stories from critically acclaimed and best-selling authors via weekly installments that can be consumed by reading the text or listening to the narration. And here's an exclusive Word Balloon offer from cerealbox.com. Word Balloon listeners can get 20% off the full season of Marvel's Thor: Metal Gods, debuting December 12th, by visiting cerealbox.com/podcast. That's 20% off the brand new audio adventure Marvel's Thor: Metal Gods from Cereal Box if you go to cerealbox.com/podcast. It makes a great Christmas gift. Word Balloon is also brought to you by Aftershock Comics. A great list of books are waiting for you at Aftershock. Genre-bending ideas by comics top writers and artists. Fantastic productions that are worthy of your attention, whether it's the science fiction genre, the horror genre, the steampunk genre. So many things are covered, alternative histories, things like Dark Ark from Cullen Bunn and Juan Doe, telling a different story about the Noah's Ark era of the Bible stories. There's Night Temporal, a great time travel story from Cullen Bunn. Lots of horror, including Tim Seeley's Dark Red, My Dear Buddy, and also Phil Hester with Stronghold with Ryan Kelly, Marguerite Bennett's Animosity, and her wonderful graphic novel Horde. Cullen's got a couple great graphic novels from Aftershock as well. And then you can even go back and look at older series as well, like stuff from Paul Jenkins and Brian Azzarello. Garth Ennis has so many Aftershock titles up there right now. A real great lineup of creators that you already know and trust, doing some really great genre-bending stories for Aftershock Comics. Go to their website. You'll find full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond codes on how to order these books through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. Okay, without further ado, let's get into it. A great conversation with Patrick Schumacher about the Harley Quinn animated series. Man, just in time to help us wet our whistles before we get the Birds of Prey movie coming out next year. But, man, it sounds like they've made 26 episodes of the Harley Quinn series. They're going to probably split them up in seasons of 13. But the second episode drops if you're already getting the DC Universe streaming service. And also a sneak preview of the pilot episode. The full episode will air on TBS on this Sunday in between the superhero movies. Check your local listings for the time that you can watch Harley Quinn for free. Well, on cable, but you know what I mean. Here's Patrick Schumacher to talk about Harley Quinn on today's Word Balloon. Patrick Schumacher, welcome back to Word Balloon. Hey, congratulations, man. I have watched the first episode of Harley, and I am a legitimate fan.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great to hear, John. Thanks for having me on the show. This is we've been working on this thing for over 2 years, and it's great that it's finally happening. It's finally coming out.
Yeah, man, and it's I don't even know what the online response is, because I'm sure that there might be some fans that are like, well, Harley's an all ages character, and I don't know if I like this, but I think it's very funny. It reminds me, in the best way, and I'm showing my age as usual, of good National Lampoon comedy albums.
Oh, that's awesome. No,
yeah.
That's good company to be in. When we were approached by Warner Brothers to do it, initially, it was always intended to be, they categorized it as R-rated, TVMA. We always knew that it was going to be for an adult audience. We're, Justin, my writing partner, producing partner, and I are huge fans of Rick and Morty, Archer, that sort of thing. So those were always kind of like the touchstones for us, the modern touchstones at least for us for the show. We always knew that it was going to be serialized as well, which is maybe a little bit different in the animation space, the adult animation space. So, we started the writer's room, like November of 2017, and here we are 2 years later, and it's coming out.
It's great, man, and truly great, bounce back and after Powerless, and you and I talked off the air, and I think you did say a little bit that you were involved with DC and that, you had more projects coming. I don't remember if that was on or off the record, but obviously now we can honestly say that, and then I've been bugging you for 2 years, and you're like, oh yeah, we're making Harley, don't worry, we'll get there. And here we are, and it's got a great cast. First of all, of course, Kaley Cucco coming back, and everyone's favorite nerd goddess as Harley. Lake Bell, big fan, terrific as Ivy, and of course, I'm like, as I'm listening, I'm like, that sounds like Diedrich Bader as Batman. Of course it is, but Alan Tudyk, another Powerless alum. And that's got to be great having him back as the Joker. Very funny.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been very blessed that the actors that we worked with over the years, and we worked with quite a few prominent, extremely talented ones that we've maintained good relationships with them, and a lot of them from our previous shows are in Harley. We have Chris Maloney as a beleaguered Commissioner Gordon, which is, it's a different take on Gordon. I think he might end up being a polarizing character to some. It might end up offending those who have seen him as this bastion of purity, as a heroic figure. He is heroic. He is a good guy, but in our version of the character, Gotham has really beaten the poor bastard down. We always said in the early days, we're like, okay, you're the commissioner of Gotham City. It's the most dangerous city in the world, potentially. Every day of your life is like living David Fincher's Seven. That's gonna mess you up a bit. So we find Gordon at the beginning of the series in some emotional doldrums. He's in kind of an unhappy marriage. He's got a drinking problem. And he's entirely too reliant on Batman in terms of filling his self-esteem. He really wants a friendship with Batman, and Batman sees them as a business partners, so to speak. They're partners. They're not friends. Gordon's inviting him to his backyard barbecue, and Batman doesn't want to come.
keep his distance. Yeah, no, I understand it. No, I thought it was funny. Yeah, it's not our usual calm, cool, collected Jim Gordon, chief of police, commissioner. But no, it's a comedy. It's fine. It's funny. Jesus, anyone who does have a problem, let go. Good Lord.
And the beauty of serialization, and we did 26 episodes so far. They're releasing 13 of them. There's going to be a break. I don't know how long, and then we'll release the second 13. But the beauty of serialization is we can give our characters legitimate arcs, and we can plan those out well in advance. And so, I think people will be pleased that we do go somewhere with Jim Gordon, and he's not necessarily always going to be the sad sack son of a bitch that you see in the pilot.
Okay, that's cool. And man, I'll tell you, even just the asides when in the first episode, when we're in Arkham, and Alan Tudyk doing double duty, not only as the Joker, but also as Calendar Man. And I love the prisoner visit day, or inmate visit day, when you saw Mrs. Calendar Man, and of course his poor bright-eyed son. That Daddy's great no matter what. That's fantastic, and also just the sourness of Mrs. Calendar Man. She's like, oh yeah, great. You forget our anniversary, but you remember porno chicks the day that she gets admitted to Arkham and stuff. No, honestly, man, this is what we need. The fast lines, the wise ass stuff. And of course, I go to the old stuff like Lampoon. And you're smart enough to point out Archer and Rick and Morty. But the great thing is, because this is streaming, they can even go further than cable can. And you're able to drop F-bombs. I loved in the tease for episode 2 when Ivy is even saying, Legion of Doom, those guys are dicks. You don't want to be with them? And it's like, yeah, man, that's what you need. This is great. It's classic Warner Brothers fast, wise-ass stuff, going back to Termite Terrace and Bugs Bunny and stuff like that, but with a modern sensibility. And it's great. It's really sharp writing. I give your writing staff a lot of credit. No, this is what we want. I think these characters are strong enough to be, portrayed in a comedic way like this.
Well, that's great to hear. Yeah, I think Justin and I were really shocked at both Warner Brothers and DC's willingness to depart from I hesitate to say formula, because I think there's a lot of variety within the stuff that they've been putting out recently, but to just really embrace comedy and hard-edged comedy, and to let us poke fun at these characters, these beloved characters, in a way that they haven't necessarily done in the past. I think it helps, and this was always part of the pitch, was that we're telling this story through the eyes of our central character, Harley, who, is clearly a criminal, at least in the start of the series, and she sees the world, she sees Gotham, she sees the Justice League very differently than, say, the common man, or that other heroes might see these places and people, and Harley's, I can't remember It was Grant Morrison. I can't remember the exact quote. I want to say it was in his book that came out a few years back. But he was always like kind of fantasizing about why does Gotham City have to be so dark and dour all the time? And I remember reading that quote and I was like,
okay.
well, that's the key to how Harley would see it as well, in my head at least, because she sees it as a playground, and
sure.
So the representation in our show is it's a lot of like pinks and purples and neon, and it's fun. It's fun being a criminal for her, and yeah, she's going to terrorize some people, but again, this is all from her POV, and to that point, it extends to how we represent a lot of the heroes in the show. You'll see that Batman, as you saw in the pilot, he's kind of a bit of a wet blanket. He doesn't entertain Harley's humor. She never is able to make him smile. Superman shows up a bit later in the series, voiced by James Wolk, who's playing Senator Keene in the Watchmen series right now.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So he voices Superman. And he's like a big blue Boy Scout that tells lame dad jokes. We have Aquaman, and he's kind of we departed from the Momoa representation and kind of made him more of a pompous Disney prince, sort of royal. Harley says talks like he's from a fucking episode of Frasier.
Well, that's like John DiMaggio's portrayal in Brave and Bold. And,
yes.
Okay, can you tell us who's voicing Aquaman?
Yeah, Chris Diamantopoulos, who is a wonderful voice actor, and I'm trying to think. Most recently, you probably would remember him if you watch Silicon Valley. He's Russ Hanneman, the billionaire, the Trace Comas guy, who's obsessed with having a car whose doors open vertically and not horizontally. That guy, he is hilarious. And I believe
is he Russ in Silicon Valley?
Yeah.
Oh God, dude, I love Silicon Valley, and it's so funny. Literally a couple weeks ago, because he had a great featured role. Bernie Capel from Love Boat was the CEO of Hooli, and they had they were making, or whatever, the financier was backing Hooli or whatever.
Yeah,
and he had a great role, and yeah, that's hilarious. I literally just watched the most recent episode last night. No, he's very, very funny. So that's great casting and stuff. No, Russ is a tremendous character on Silicon Valley. I'm so bummed that show's wrapping up because I've loved every season. It's great.
It's so good. Such a good cast. Yeah, love it. And
cool.
And we have managed to wrangle, I don't really know how, but we've managed to wrangle a murderer's row of voice actors for this, and just comics who have been in some of the best, tons of people from Veep,
great,
who have been in Silicon Valley. So Dr. Psycho is voiced by Tony Hale.
Oh, great.
Veep and Arrested Development. He shows up episode 3 and becomes a series regular. We've got King Shark voiced by Ron Funches, who's also in Powerless. Great stand-up comic.
Yes.
Matt Oberg, another Veep alum, voices Kite Man, who becomes a shockingly integral part of the series.
Is Matt the former journalist that is writing Serena's biography and everything?
So Matt is, I believe he's a senator in the show, and he was dating Anna Klumsky's character for a bit.
Oh, of course. Yes, indeed.
From Montana, I believe, in the show. Yeah.
No.
He's awesome. He used to be one of the, I don't know if you watched Onion Sports Dome, but he was one of the co-anchors on that show.
No, I didn't watch it, but that's...
Brilliant but canceled show.
There you go, man.
ESPN Sports Center.
Got it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so Kite Man becomes a major part of the show. He shows up actually in this week's. Oh well, I don't know when this is going to air, but
the Legion of Doom. Well, I wanted to drop it on Friday when the new episode drops. So yeah, that was my plan. So yeah, absolutely, man.
Episode, yeah. You've got who else? Jason Alexander as Cy Borgman. Who was a creation from Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor's
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So Cy becomes a part of the series in episode 4, I want to say, is when he shows up. He's actually Ivy's landlord. I mean, it was incredible to get Jason to do this. But honestly, I think like we had Kaley on board, we had Lake on board, and then I think it just kind of started to snowball. People were like, well, this is like legit, and we wanted to do something, where we were hiring a lot of, really recognizable actors who, come from the live action world, just to, I think, do something a little different perhaps. And it's really worked out well for us. We've got Wanda Sykes as Queen of Fables, who shows up
Fantastic.
at 103. And we do, I believe it was a Mark Waid story where the Justice League has trapped her in the 1986 U.S. tax code. And that's where we find her. And she's working as a CPA in an H&R Block. And it's sort of a cautionary tale to Harley about how if you're a female supervillain and you get too high and mighty, you're going to get knocked down a few pegs. Look at me. I got trapped in this fucking book. And then Harley springs her in a later episode, much to her chagrin. But yeah, we got J.B. Smoove as Frank the Plant.
Yes, very funny.
For the show, yeah.
Very funny. Very, very Little Shop of Horrors Seymour-esque, and that's awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Giancarlo Esposito shows up as Lex Luthor.
Cool.
We've got Vanessa Marshall as Wonder Woman. She's a DC Voice alum. Just tons of people. Alfred Molina shows up in a much later episode as Mr. Freeze.
Wow, great.
Sanaa Lathan is Catwoman. I think people are going to be really pleased. Jim Rash is the Riddler, who's already been in the
first episode. Yeah, absolutely, man. Honestly, man, top talent, and that doesn't surprise me, and I'm really glad that, again, the comedy is sharp, the writing is really, really sharp. Who else, other than yourself, is it Justin Halpern? Is he your partner?
That's correct, yeah.
Was he with you on Powerless, or? That's
correct, yeah. We've been partners for, we've been TV writing partners since 2009 when we sold our first show, which was Shit My Dad Says with William Shatner. And
yes,
yeah, that was the first thing we ever did in TV. But we've known we interned together in the summer of 2001, so we've known each other for almost 20 years. But Justin and I kind of formulated the original pitch. This was back in 2016, actually before Powerless. We had to shelve the project because Warner Brothers asked us to commit to Powerless full time, kind of unexpectedly. But yeah, we kind of did the original pitch for the studio. We shelved it for a year. We brought it back and teamed up with Dean Lorey, who is the other executive producer and showrunner. Mm-hmm. And he also, we got to know Dean on Powerless. We hired him when we were put in charge of Powerless.
Okay.
And Dean has a really great extensive history writing half-hour comedies. He came from Arrested Development in that world, which we just think is a brilliant show. And
of course, yes,
we just fell in love with Dean. So the three of us kind of handle a lot of the initial development, but then we hired a staff in fall of 2017, and I would say in total we had about, including ourselves, we had about 13 writers.
Wow.
Yeah, and at any given time we had about 10. Some of them kind of rotated.
Sure.
It was a real learning curve for us because this is Animation Guild, IATSE. It's a different guild than we usually deal with, a different union than the Writers Guild. It's just that's how Warner Animation does things, mm-hmm. And so you get a lot of people on like weeklies. They're not these, lengthy contracts.
Oh.
And so, we ended up kind of having people depart the show for maybe financially greener pastures.
Sure.
And so, we had 13 in total. I could list everybody. We had Adam Stein, Jess Dweck, who is, if you don't follow Jess on Twitter, you're missing out. She's a Twitter superstar.
Okay, okay.
She's currently just hilarious, and she's currently, I believe, staffed on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, great.
that now. Jordan Weiss, who's a young writer who who sold a show and it went into production, which is why she had to leave Harley on Hulu, called Dollface, which Margot Robbie was an executive producer of, and they put all, I believe, 13 episodes out on Hulu. So we had Jordan, we had Sarah Peters, who came from a really fun comedy background, writing on Nathan For You, and about Ghosted on Fox. I'm missing a bunch of stuff, but she has some pretty interesting comedy credits. Jane Becker, who was a Rick and Morty writer, and ended up leaving partway to do the second season of Future Man, the Seth Rogen show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Also on Hulu. With Tom Hindman, who it was his first staff job. He was our old assistant, but hilarious writer, and he ended up writing so many of these episodes, and just did a fantastic job. We had Laura Moran, Sabrina Jalise, who's a stand-up comic and actress and a writer who we had met on Powerless.
Cool.
Sarah Nevada Smith, it was her first staff gig as well, and Jameson Borak, who was our script coordinator, who we were able to promote midway through, and he, I think of anyone on the staff, possibly myself included, had an encyclopedic knowledge of DC and sort of the Batman animated legacy, and just was an invaluable. He ended up writing it's episode 18 of the show, which is a real love letter to Batman the Animated Series, and deals with sort of the origin story of Harley and the Joker and their romance, and how does it relate to Poison Ivy, and it sort of ends up reframing that whole kind of, if you want to call it, meet cute between these two killers. And it was just a fascinating first draft that he turned in. He did such a great job. I'm trying to make sure that I haven't forgotten anyone, because I've forgotten who I mentioned.
All good.
I'm sure I've forgotten someone, which would be just god awful. But no, we were blessed with a really incredible staff, that's all I can say about that.
Well, it's amazing, man, and that's, it shouldn't surprise me. I always love, you could tell at awards season when a comedy wins, and literally like a football team of writers suddenly runs out for the award, and you're like, oh, it is that many writers these days, and it's like, no, that's good, that's fine, and a lot of voices in the room, a lot of comedy, and a lot of great ideas, and that's great, and it's great to hear that so many women are part of the staff too. Honestly, that's wonderful, because obviously it's a woman-centric show, so you do want you want to make sure you're getting the voices right and everything, and I think that's terrific, and again, based on the first episode. Ivy's strong, and Harley is strong in her own way. It's funny. I think back to when I first saw the Arkham City games, and then also in the New 52, when Harley went from the Harlequin outfit to the more sexified look and everything. And I'm a red-blooded American man. I'm okay with it. But I'm like, I saw people kind of complaining and stuff, and I didn't even know I had Paul Dini on. And I'm like, are you cool with this? And he goes, well, yeah, I helped design Arkham City. I'm like, well, say no more. Of course you're.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, all right, well, if Harley's dad is okay with it, I'm okay with it too. And again, it's great, and it fits. And also evocative of the good parts of Suicide Squad. And I say that judiciously because I'm not a big fan of the movie itself, but I did think that obviously they got Harley right. And I did like the Harley-Joker relationship as it was portrayed there, and also really, I mean, and especially in that first episode, so many scenes evoke those classic images from the animated series, and also that fantastic Alex Ross painting of Joker and Harley and everything. Yeah.
Just against that seamless black background and the overlay. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And we try in our show as well to sort of pay homage to some of the iconic images of either, whether it's, comic book covers or, splash pages, or, like we've got stuff where it's like, okay, we've got a scene, with Harley and Ivy. They're driving in a car, they're on the run. What's the car? What kind of car? Well, as one of the showrunners, I get the opportunity to kind of pick every detail as much as we want, And I'm like, all right, well, I got a cell from BTAS hanging in my office from the Harley and Ivy episode. And can you do that car? Let's just do that car. Because why not?
Of course.
Throw in as many. We got a lot of Easter eggs in the show that I think people are going to be happy about. Yeah, and you mentioned kind of, the character design and, specifically to Harley and sort of the update of the character. Obviously, you've seen the pilot, one of the things that we do is kind of explain, we give a real reason as to why she's shedding the old, Harlequin
yes.
sort of onesie
yeah.
and, making this move. It's a metamorphosis. She's becoming a butterfly.
Sure.
She gets rid of the mallet. She's got the bat now. She goes through that transition literally in the heat of battle, in terms of the weapon at least. But yeah, we were very conscious about, wanting the in the character design, especially the wardrobe, to, find kind of in Harley's case, I think a happy medium where it's functional, but it still has that sex appeal, that people are used to with the character. But then in the case of, say, Ivy, she's very functional. She's got the sort of biker jacket, and the leggings and it's, she's kind of ready for fighting. And so, we decided that she, as a more reserved character, would be, and especially in the way that we're portraying her in the show, which is a little bit more in the vein of Daria, from Beavis and Butthead, or Cameron Fry is really, like in the original pitch in 2016, we were like, okay, well, here's an analog. Harley is Ferris and Ivy is Cameron.
Sure.
Ivy's the one who's always bringing her back to reality. It's a reality stuff. You gotta look at reality once in a while. So, and that seemed to really fit, and that was something that really stuck. Obviously Harley and Ivy historically have had a very complicated relationship that's something we haven't explored with Cameron and Ferris, but it is something that, we will explore down the road in the show. But really for the first 13 episodes especially, we really wanted to focus on, hey, this is a breakup story. Harley is, emancipating herself from the Joker. She's going out on her own. She is Mary Tyler Moore. She is going into the big city, the big bad city, and, she's going to make it after all. She's going to make a name for herself. She's going to get into the Legion of Doom. This is like career-oriented Harley, and we didn't really want to muddy any of that with any sort of romances, particularly with Harley. Specifically, Ivy, different story. We go in a different direction. I think it's going to be a polarizing one. And some people have gotten whiffs of it from the marketing, but anyways, we do get to explore some of that romantic stuff with Harley and Ivy in later episodes, which I'm excited about. But I don't know when those are even coming out, so I don't really want to talk about it too much in great detail. But yeah, like we just to name drop here, like talking about the character design. Going back to that, we had Shane Glines, who did he was the lead character designer on our show, and he was the lead character designer on Justice League Action. He is someone he's just incredible. Worked under Bruce Timm for a very, very long time over at Warner Animation. And you can't talk about Shane without talking about Jennifer Coyle, who was our supervising producer and sort of the queen of all things animation on Harley. She's sort of the other showrunner, essentially, who, she's just in charge of anything that you see on screen, that you're actually seeing. That is aesthetic, purely aesthetic. That is Jen. And she is in charge of all of that stuff. So obviously we had an army of people working under her, but, she was an immediate hire when we met her. She was coming off DC Superhero Girls, I believe.
Oh, wow.
And, and so she has that background. Extremely eccentric person, detail-oriented person. Jen just she walks in a room, she's got this perfect look that you're like, oh right, that's the supervising producer on Harley Quinn. She looks like she belongs on this show. Yeah, she's amazing, and has, for better or worse, horrendous OCD. So she is constantly belittling her own work in an effort to make it better.
Okay.
But oh my God, I can't say enough good things about Jen and what she has done for the show. It's her baby, and she's another sort of Bruce Timm disciple, and she's someone who adores Batman the Animated Series. It's one of the greatest achievements in animation, I think, as far as she is concerned, and us as well, but she's much more eloquent in speaking about animation specifically, having that as a background, and so she wanted to, sort of honor the legacy of that show, and then also kind of take it into 2019, which I think the show does quite well, and I think, a lot of the press that we've been getting has mentioned that specifically, without us pushing it on anyone, and so I think that's been really rewarding for everybody.
I agree. I think it's a comfortable evolution that stands well aside all the good versions before. And beyond the designs that you've already talked about, I really like the new Batman design. And I think it's you can always recognize Batman, but I do kind of like the armor look of his uniform, and almost a Judge Dredd kind of take on Batman. I don't know, that for some reason I think facially that's what came to mind when I first saw it. And Diedrich's, of course, deadpan delivery always helps as well. But I really like that, and yeah, I don't know whose idea was to go in that direction for Batman's look.
Yeah, it was a conversation as all these characters were with Jen and Shane and Justin, Dean, myself, among others, but and of course the execs at Warner Brothers Animation, weigh in on everything, everybody, and DC as well. Everybody's very protective of, obviously, this crown jewel of intellectual property that they have. But, in terms of the Batman and the armor and all of that, it just kind of fit that sort of, again, like you said, Judge Dredd, it is that kind of like fascist iconography.
Yeah.
From Harley's point of view, it's like this guy is this, authoritative, wet blanket. He's a buzzkill. Right. And also emotionally, Batman is so shut down that he would have that armor, and I think we wanted to physicalize that, give it an actual look, that characteristic of Batman. Yeah, he's just heavy.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and then in terms of like Gordon, we were like, well, this guy again, like he's got a paunch. He's been drinking a bit too much. His hair is always tousled, He's just kind of a mess. He's the most frumpy, wrinkled character in the show. A ton of thought and reiterations of Shane's drawings, went into play when coming up with the look of all these characters.
Is there always, and again, knucklehead question maybe, but is there always a thought of a toy line when they create animation these days? Will we see a toy line based on these designs?
Well, I know that they released, I believe it's already out, that DC Direct released a maquette, like a 12-inch statue of Harley from our show that you can get at like DCUniverse.com and through the surface and all that. We had it's funny, so the show played Comic-Con, the pilot played Comic-Con, and I don't think anybody really knew what to expect.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure.
I'm talking about the audience in over at the Hilton where they do the Eisners. That's the ballroom we're in.
Yeah.
2,600 people. I don't think the audience knew what to expect, and I don't think we knew what to expect. Any of the execs from Warner Brothers really. We had tested the show, and but it was just animatics. And we tested 3 episodes, and it tested through the roof. And so that was a little bit, it was encouraging, but it wasn't like the finished product, right?
Real fast, for people who may not know, describe what an animatic is.
Okay, so an animatic is, the best way I can describe it, having not gone to CalArts, is that it's essentially a moving storyboard. So you have your radio play. You get you have your editor cut together a radio play, which is all of the voice actors doing their dialogue, cut together with some rudimentary temp sound effects. You get that to time or close to time.
Right.
In our case, is about 22 minutes an episode. Then you pass it over to the board artists. So you have your storyboard artists that are all in Burbank at Warner Brothers Animation, or most of them are. And they rough out some storyboards. In our case, we did what was called a boardomatic, which is almost glorified stick figures, where you're watching it in its roughest form, and you're able to kind of pick out, instead of this shot, this extreme close up, can we do medium close up here, and can you cut away earlier than later, and that kind of thing. So it's a thing where you're not completely expending all of your energy making these beautiful drawings before you start to fine tune sort of this pre-editing process. And then after the boardomatic, we do the animatic, which is a slightly more cleaned up version, which adds kind of expressions to the characters, and it's all timed out so that when you lock it, it's essentially like sending a roughly animated version of the show over to our partners at studios over in Korea. We had 3 studios that we worked with over in Seoul that actually did all of the in-betweens and the final color versions of the animation.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it's black and white. And so were they images or were they moving images?
Well, they're sort of herky-jerky moving images.
Yeah, okay. That's
so
fun,
that was tested in front of these focus groups.
Go on.
Over in Burbank, and it just everybody was thrilled about it. And I think so that gave us a little bit of encouragement going into San Diego in July, and then we showed it, and people went nuts. It was
Great.
It was DC Universe kind of all network presentation. They had just shown the trailer for season 2 of Titans, which unfortunately had an issue, a stunt issue. I had a stuntman actually pass away testing out a stunt at a facility, and so they had to unfortunately back out of Comic-Con, but they were able to show the trailer for the second season,
okay.
And we followed that, and I think people were potentially, after that horrible news, ready to laugh, and so they did. It was from the first 10 seconds of the show, we were backstage. We couldn't even hear the show because people were laughing over jokes. And, it was just it was a huge, huge relief. But back to the consumer products of it all, I think after San Diego, it was a giant, injection of confidence, in terms of the studio's point of view. And we had almost, I want to call it like an emergency consumer products meeting. We're like, okay, people like this. What can we do? And so we literally just sat for an hour in a room with the marketing folks, consumer products division, DC Universe people, Warner Brothers people, just kind of talking them through. Well, we had the walls just papered with, Jen's artwork, Shane's artwork, props, prop designs,
sure.
Things where we're like, okay, if you want to, there is a mug in the show that Bane uses that says "Caffeine is my reckoning." What is it? Maybe that's something, just kind of brainstorming that way. So I do know that there are plans
Good.
to release products, specifically like action figures, things like that. I don't know. TBD. I have been told. I think DC obviously they have a partnership with Funko Pops. I think that's
sure.
on the horizon. I don't know 100%, but I would assume that Funko kind of does everything, any and everything.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised about that. But I think your original question, if I can remember after all my rambling,
good.
Dealt with does some of that like inform the character design and that sort of thing. And I think there's some parameters that you have to deal with. Where you can't go so far afield on, I would say it just pertains to certain characters, right? Like the Big Seven from the Justice League or, that sort of thing. But, we we didn't want to go that far afield of, the designs that
Sure.
I think, Queen of Fables looks maybe a little bit different, but again, like, she's a character that, in the overall scheme of things is, has only, appeared in, 20, 25 some odd issues over the years since she's been introduced, I would say. And so, I think they're a little bit more, they're less reluctant to bar you from deviating from the design, let's say, in those smaller characters. I shouldn't say.
Well, yeah. No, but I know what you mean. Absolutely, man. And no, that's great. Well, and truly, like, that's a brilliant idea for Bane. That at the very least should have a coffee mug design with that on there or something, or it'd be great to see like a PVC and again, forgive my limited toy language, listeners, but something. It doesn't have to be an action figure per se, but like I loved those Justice Society PVCs that they came out with. That
awesome.
they don't pose or anything like that. They're just stuck in those things, but it's those classic costumes. And I would love to see a beleaguered. God, I could see a rooftop. Scene of, beleaguered Gordon looking as disheveled as he does, needing a bath and a comb terribly, and also maybe a towel because he's sweating so bad. But, with that design of Batman, with Harley and everything. And yeah, I mean, just like one of those, like, here's 5 characters in that kind of design box that can look like a rooftop or something like that. And yeah, no, these designs are great. And also, I understand what you're saying, too, about Ivy, by the way, because, it is very interesting. I hung out with a couple Batman writers at the couple conventions I did go to this year, and they were telling me, I mean, I really wasn't paying attention and how much of a third rail Ivy is in a lot of people's minds, and from her sexuality to everything. And it's like, God, who knew? I mean, always a great character, always a sexy character, and I like the idea of her and Harley having a relationship and everything. It's fun and it's funny. It's great, and I think it fits both characters, and I think it's something that should be explored. And I hope, I look forward to seeing what you guys do with it. And again, like you said, there's going to be I'm sure there's going to be a mixed bag of reactions to whatever directions you guys go in. But I'm cool with that. I'm shrugging. I'm like, all right, fine. These are fun characters. Let's have fun with them and everything. Take them out for a spin. And also, again, they're fictional characters. Take it easy. Relax. My God.
I do understand, there is obviously an appetite for, Harley and Ivy being in a romantic relationship, and I absolutely get that. And we all understand the importance of representation, and I do ask for people's patience getting there, because I think they'll be pleased. I hope they are pleased, those that are asking for that to happen.
Sure. So. No, that's cool, man. And again, I love Tudyk, and first of all, I love the design of the Joker, and as we say, evocative of Alex Ross's designs. But I think Tudyk, man, Mark Hamill. I mean, everyone loves Mark Hamill, obviously, universally as a quintessential Joker. I think Tudyk's doing a hell of a job, and I think he's proving that he's a very worthy Joker as well. And it's great to see, just like Diedrich, I think, as Batman has really proven himself over the years. And it's been fun getting to talk to him a few times at conventions about it and stuff. And even not only on Brave and Bold in your series, but even becoming Ace the Bat Hound on the Super Pets cartoons that they've done over the years. He's kind of perfect for all that stuff. So, and sometimes you need a comedian to be a good straight man.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that's the thing. And obviously, Diedrich being such a wonderful comedian and stuff, and same with Alan. I mean, these guys get it. They can be broad when they need to be broad, but also they could be, and obviously in the case of the Joker, you got that mania that the Joker always brings, but in a lot of ways too, he is a straight man to Harley.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, in terms of Alan and Diedrich, it's like those guys, some people know this, but generally when recording, even though Diedrich's playing Batman and Alan's playing the Joker, and obviously we talked about him playing Clayface, and Calendar Man in one episode. You know, these guys do multiple voices in every episode. They do second and sometimes third voices. You know, contractually, you get 2 voices for the price of 1 in with SAG with actors. So like you get guys like Alan and Diedrich that are just like chameleons. I mean, Diedrich does he'll do Batman, but then he's like Jimmy the maitre d' or whatever. It's like you'd never know that that's the same guy.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Well,
and Alan with Calendar Man and Joker in that first episode, and that's cool to know that he's going to be Clayface down the road too. That's great.
Yeah, tons of Clayface is a series regular as well. Oh,
excellent! Very funny.
And we play him as this sort of. I mean, we basically were like, okay, Alan, Clayface is like Juilliard trained. A scenery chewing actor with a capital A, and Alan's like, got it, and then you just set it and forget it. Now he just runs with it. It is brilliant. It is brilliant. I can't wait for people to see, because he is we definitely, for those Clayface diehards out there, we make a lot of fun of Clayface. We were just like, okay, here's a guy who literally changed into any person in the world, and he still can't book an acting gig because he's not a good actor.
That's great.
So he'll show up in episode 3.
Okay. Oh, that's great, man. That's cool. Hey, and honestly, man, I'm again, you were handed Powerless in terms of it was kind of finished as far as concept and everything, and we had in our first conversation, you kind of explained how you and your partner and everything, Justin, really did kind of walk into that show running situation, and you guys still were able to maybe, especially as things progressed, kind of put your imprint on the last few episodes, it seemed. And it's great now because, God, in Powerless, it was always fun to see a lot of those third-tier villains and heroes and stuff pop up. And now in animation, it must be even more gratifying because you can go even further and, a bigger, what appears to be a bigger budget because it's animation rather than the limitations of not only live action, but also in a network sitcom and everything, what you can and what you can't do.
Yeah, well, ironically, I can tell you the budget of Harley is a small fraction of Powerless.
But you know what I mean in terms of the imagination and being able to show so much more from an animation standpoint than what you can do in live action.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think down the road on Powerless, when we got into those late episodes and we were able to do, I think this is partially a function of the network possibly cutting bait on the show and just leaving us to just finish out the order. And just let us experiment a bit and see what happens. But yeah, we were able to, for instance, the finale of Powerless, what became the finale, which is going to sadly go down in the history books as Adam West's last gig.
Yeah.
But we really took some risks for broadcast comedies where we had him, going into the bowels of LexCorp and going through an interdimensional portal and having one of them, end up in the Warlord universe and popping out 30 seconds later riding a horse dressed like a warlord. I mean, that's stuff that never would have been in the original, like the pilot of Powerless, but we were able to do that stuff and we loved it, and it felt like the sweet spot, weirdly, of that show. And then we were able to do that every minute of Harley, just get weird with it.
Yes.
And they really they just took all of the they took the brakes off from day one on Harley, and I don't know if that was a function of just hey, this is animation, it's a different world, or they just always embraced the idea that this was just going to be out there. Because you look at the show like Rick and Morty. I mean, that stuff's crazy.
Right.
The stuff that they do is just mind-bending, sci-fi genre stuff. Every week in, week out, it's like that'll never fly on broadcast. But hey, it works. It works very well. And so we were more than happy to be able to play in that giant sandbox.
Well, I love in the first episode, the pilot, when the Joker reveals himself And not only is it a mask. Well, first of all, I love the yacht with all the white people, fellow whites.
Yeah.
You know, and
when that joke played at Comic-Con, we were like, okay, they get the show.
Well, and that was the just the reveal. And not only is it a mask, but it seems to be made of flesh. And then, you know, it's a bloody reveal. And he's playing hand puppet and stuff with that crazy that crazy thing that he's got on his hand.
Oh, yeah.
Forgive me as I'm stuttering because I'm trying to scroll and find the Powerless Adam West episode. It was on YouTube, and I don't know if it still is anymore. I wonder if they took it down.
It may no longer be on there. I know that it never aired on NBC. They did put it up for, I believe it was intended to be a limited time on YouTube, but it may be on iTunes at this point. But I don't think it's streaming anywhere. I mean, who knows down the road if Powerless will end up on either DC Universe or HBO Max. I believe there might be some episodes up on Hulu. I can't remember, but I know like the licensing right now has tied it up to where it's not. I don't think it's back in like Warner Brothers' possession to do with what they want. But I would imagine down the road it's eligible to be on an HBO Max or a DC Universe. I
was hoping to find a view count for that episode on YouTube because I know that it probably hit millions especially when Adam passed away, and you guys did post it as that tribute. And I'm sure as much as it hurt to get canceled, it must have been gratifying to see that so many million people did find it and enjoyed it on YouTube and everything. Because it was hilarious, and it was very community. If people didn't see it, and it showed what the show could have been if it got more of a buy and fleshed out a full season order. As opposed to, I know you made like 10 or 13, and I want to say only like 7 or 8 actually aired, right?
Yeah, I think we made 12, and I think 10 or 11 aired. But I think the Adam West one was the only one that didn't officially air on NBC.
Got it.
Which was a shame. I mean, I thought they'd at least do some kind of like special presentation or something in the summer, just burn it off in the summer. But it just never happened.
Now, that's, what are we going to do? I'm shrugging right now. But again, I think a lot of the origins of Harley can be found in Powerless. And, and I wonder too, I mean, and I know you're creating content. You're not there in the boardroom or anything like that. But it's very interesting that, while DC Universe exists, the CW Seed also still exists, and they just did a Deathstroke animated thing with J.M. DeMatteis and everything. And and we mentioned HBO Max coming in the spring. I have no idea what the future is for DC Universe, but I hope that it gets folded into HBO Max. And I don't know if you have any insight to that.
I don't have any specific insight. What we have been told is that I think, in success, Harley has the potential to live on both services being HBO Max and DC Universe. So, what the mantra over here, what we have heard is that DC Universe is not going anywhere, that it will always exist. And I don't know if that's a function of its ability to, they have 25,000 or some odd digital comics,
Sure.
Everything from, a year ago from today down all the way back to, 1938 or whatever. They've got that all on there, which is amazing because they have an impressive digital library, but
100%, man. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's like one of the functions of like it always being a separate thing. I'm not sure. But yes, what I have heard, and this is what happened with Doom Patrol, is that Doom Patrol will exist on 2 services. It will be on DC Universe. It will be on HBO Max for its 2nd season. And then, one of the wonderful things that has happened since this Warner Media inception, this merger between Warner Brothers and AT&T, is that it really seems like they are using the cliche term of corporate synergy to the fullest. But they are using multiple platforms to kind of signal boost for their shows. And with a show like Harley, what's happening with us is that our pilot is airing on Sunday, December 8th on TBS. Which
Oh,
is
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, that's excellent, man.
So you will be able, if you don't have DC Universe, you will be able to watch the censored version, and censored meaning they bleep out the F-bombs, and that's
like Rick and Morty.
Yeah. So they bleep out F-words. It's on at 11 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, December 8th. They're doing a DC Ember movie marathon, and then we're kind of tucked in between Wonder Woman and Suicide Squad. They'll have bumpers all day on TBS reminding you. But yeah, that's exciting because it'll get it in front of a whole new set of eyeballs and hopefully drive traffic over to DC Universe, which, they offer free trials. I think it's a week-long trial. So, I've heard that they did have a significant amount of sign-ups when this show premiered. So that's exciting. We haven't seen the official numbers yet, but I heard they were encouraging. So, I hope that means we're going to get another go at it because, there's some exciting places we can take it. Anything that we write next year will air in 2027, but we're still excited about it.
Well, and I know how long it takes to make animation. I mean, we all know how many literally years we waited for season 4 of Rick and Morty on Cartoon Network. So I understand that. But honestly, the corporate synergy, I'm really glad to hear because I don't think I'm speaking out of school. This executive doesn't work at Time Warner anymore, but he was very involved in DC, and he and I had a conversation, and it was all background, but he was telling me the differences between Disney and Warner's when it came to synergy, and that Disney's always operated this way, and that Warner's was kind of still figuring that out, and I think in the changes of chairmanship and direction, and, this was early in Diane Nelson's run, so I don't even think she had the opportunity yet to tie things together when she was running the DC show and everything, DC Entertainment. But it's obvious, and that's great to hear because, like you mentioned, Doom Patrol is such a great show, and I'm glad that it's going to run on both services. I think that's great. And, Swamp Thing, we all heard the unfortunate financial things behind the scenes that, kind of kneecapped it to the one season. But goddamn, that was so excellent, too. And I think, I'll be honest, I think Titans is still going through growing pains, but I like a lot of what Tyson represents. Or I keep saying Tyson instead of Titans, or I'm thinking...
It's a different Warner Brothers property. But
That's right, I'm sure. Although I'm sure you could fold in a crossover with Mike Tyson. I'm sure he'd be willing to do it. But no, I think it's terrific that... that's the thing. I really think that as DC Universe is fighting for streaming eyeballs and stuff, there's a lot of good programming and content on there. I like the DC Daily Show with all the 20-somethings kind of discussing DC, and I just think there's a lot of good content there. And I'd really hate for it to disappear, once HBO, and not be considered for HBO Max. So that's a big relief to hear that, again, that they understand, and especially with the Birds of Prey movie coming up. This Harley series is an excellent way to kind of get people geared up in between Suicide Squad before we get the Birds of Prey movie.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's funny, because we've been working on this thing for so long, as you talked about, and then we caught wind of kind of what the Harley movie, or what Birds of Prey, I should say, is about. And clearly, it's in the title, the emancipation of one Harley Quinn, and we're like thinking, oh shit. But I know that there has been a lot of conversations between features and TV going on to make sure that we are not treading on each other's feet. And so, while thematically this concept of emancipation and Harley are shared between the two projects, we deviate from each other quite a bit. The little I do know of Birds of Prey, and I know that it is not going to be totally akin to our show in any way, shape, or form. So,
man, I congratulate you getting the sneak of the Harley pilot on TNT. I hope it doesn't conflict with the first couple chapters as far as being on the air opposite the CW Crisis crossover that starts, I think, the same night.
Does it start on the... Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Well, people have DVRs.
Yeah, I was going to say, absolutely. If everybody set your DVRs and don't miss either. Yeah, and I don't even know if you have any insight on the Crisis crossover. Or is that on another floor, not even near you or anything?
It's I have friends over there who have. Here's what I do know. I know that apparently there is a reference to Powerless in it.
Oh, that's excellent.
Well, it's so cool because they're just like they're throwing in everything in the kitchen sink.
Yes.
Right, and I'm hoping, like, I just saw the trailer that dropped I think this week, and it's so exciting to see things like Kevin Conroy wearing the bat suit and doing the kind of Kingdom Come Batman look. It's so cool that they really are including everyone, and I hope they have more surprises up our sleeves, or up their sleeves rather.
Yes.
But yeah, I do. I was told by an executive who worked with me on Powerless, who we've become friends since. But he said you got to watch. There's a Powerless reference, and I'm like, well, what episode is it? He's like, I'm not telling you. You got to watch the whole thing. So I'm sure it's a billboard in the background or something like. I think it was Batman 24 on on Tom King's run. I was trying to think of the artist on it. I can't remember who drew that issue, but it was 24 when Batman proposes to Selina, and somewhere in the background, Selina's like jumping into the night sky, and there is a billboard for Powerless.
Oh, that's fantastic! I didn't even remember that. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's funny. Well, that doesn't surprise me, and especially when you said that Kite Man's going to show up in Harley's show and everything. It's like, oh, well, Tom King will be very happy about that.
Well,
so that's
I had the opportunity to just shake his hand after he won a boatload of Eisners this year at San Diego Comic-Con, and I was
great.
over at the bar. I saw him and Mitch Gerrits, and I came up to him and congratulated them, and I introduced myself, said what I was working on, and he was like, "Oh, I heard Kite Man's in that." So I hopefully he's aware of everything.
Well, he will be. He listens to Word Balloon, so that's
cool.
Great. So and Patrick, I don't know, are you able to and I don't expect to hear titles. Are you working on other projects then? Are you now part of DC Universe's animated world? Are you going to be show running more things? Are there live action projects that you might be involved in as well?
In terms of DC specifically, there aren't any plans as of yet. Justin and I are on an overall deal over at the studio, development deal. And so, yes, we are working on multiple projects. One animated that we're pitching before the holidays, and then a couple of live action projects. And everything, with the exception of Harley, everything is all just pilot development, that kind of thing. Nothing has been picked up to series. This is all kind of, pie in the sky stuff right now. Okay. But yeah, that as part of our gig over here at Warner Brothers, we are expected to develop multiple projects. We're supervising other writers. That animated project that we're working on right now, we're doing with Jane Becker, who was on Harley and Rick and Morty before that. And so, yeah, we've kind of reached a point in our careers and our relationship with Warner Brothers where they're letting us, produce stuff and supervise younger writers, newer writers. And we're not, which is lovely because we're able to weigh in on stuff, and then we don't have to go and sit in a dark room and hammer out a 20 or a 33 page script or whatever. But we can just note it up. So we're doing that, and then we're taking a project out with Kaley. That's a Kaley Cucco.
Yeah.
Harley. We're taking out a live action project with her in January for streaming. That is kind of a tonal kindred spirit to Veep. So
cool.
Yeah, we just had such a good time doing Harley and doing that kind of edgy voiced comedy that we thought we'd try and pitch something live in the live action space as well. So, but man, we'd love to continue working on stuff with DC if the right project comes along. Justin was just talking to me the other day about he's like, we gotta try and write a feature for them. We were like, could we write like a Poison Ivy feature?
Wow.
Like, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to with the Lake Bell iteration of Poison Ivy.
Hey, she could do it. She could do it live action and animated. My God, she's lovely, and I'm such a fan of hers. I loved her on Girls, and everything she's done. In a World was fantastic, and she's a real talented threat, and I think she's a hell of an actor, and it would be great. And really, she'd be a wonderful Harley a wonderful Ivy on camera.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So
cool.
So we're working on a lot of stuff.
That's seriously, Patrick. I'm so happy for you, man. Honestly, from the moment that you reached out and said, "Hey, if you want to hear the story of Powerless, I'd love to come on Word Balloon," and we've gotten to know each other via Skype in this limited fashion, and I'm looking forward to seeing you face to face. I should be in San Diego this year. I had the health thing screw me up and then keep me away from last year at San Diego, But no, I'm 98% done healing, and I know I'll be okay by the time of San Diego. And man, I want to shake your hand and congratulate you because nice rebound, dude. I mean, seriously, it's honestly, I've had a lot of friends that have had their live action or animation thing come and go, and it's tough. But I'm glad that Warner's has the faith in you guys and is giving you the opportunity to pitch. And really, I think you got a hell of a hit in Harley, and I just hope more people will jump on DC Universe. Certainly check out the freebie coming up on Sunday night on TNT. Is it TNT or TBS?
TBS.
Oh, excuse me, TBS. Excuse me. But man, set your DVR and make sure you don't miss this pilot episode of Harley Quinn. And I think you will not be disappointed. It's a very funny animated series, and it's got the right tone and it's got the right people behind it, like Patrick. So congratulations, dude.
Thanks, man. Great to talk to you.
That's Patrick Schumacher. Don't forget the Harley Quinn animated series. You can watch a free full episode preview of it Sunday night on TBS. And the first 2 episodes now available on the DC Universe streaming app. So check it out if you're already a DC Universe subscriber, or set your DVR for Sunday night. Man, there's a lot of superhero stuff happening on Sunday night. Also, the CW Crisis crossover. But make room for Harley Quinn. You're not going to want to miss this because it's fantastic. It's really, really funny, and I'm very excited for Patrick on being able to be part of such a funny series. This episode of Word Balloon is brought to you by Cereal Box. You've heard me talk to Cereal Box creators about their work on the Orphan Black sequel that's available exclusively at Cereal Box, with Tatiana Maslany reprising her role as the clones and narrating the series there. Well, Cereal Box is also launching Marvel's Thor: Metal Gods, the first of several original serialized fiction and audiobook series based on Marvel Comics, debuting December 12th. Actor Daniel Gillis, best known for the Vampire Diaries and the originals, will be narrating and bringing Thor and Loki to life. In this story, Thor and Loki race across the universe to untangle a dangerous mystery and stop the return of an ancient evil. Cereal Box has been called the HBO of reading by NPR and selected by BuzzFeed as a must-have app for 2018. They offer premium serialized stories from critically acclaimed and best-selling authors via weekly installments that can be consumed by reading the text or listening to the narration. And here's an exclusive Word Balloon offer from SerialBox.com. Word Balloon listeners can get 20% off the full season of Marvel's Thor: Metal Gods, debuting December 12th, by visiting SerialBox.com/podcast. That's 20% off the brand new audio adventure Marvel's Thor: Metal Gods from Cereal Box if you go to SerialBox.com/podcast. It makes a great Christmas gift. This episode of Word Balloon brought to you by Aftershock Comics. Thank you greatly for the support, Aftershock. And they make it easy, I'll tell you. They've got incredible books at incredible prices, great genre-bending stories that are worthy of your attention. Some of the best creators in comics are working at Aftershock. Donny Cates is giving us Baby Teeth through Aftershock. Cullen Bunn, several series and graphic novels from Aftershock, including Dark Ark and Night Temporal. There's You Are Obsolete, a great horror story from Matthew Klickstein. There's Marguerite Bennett's Animosity and Horde, her graphic novel recently from Aftershock. Tremendous things. Tim Seeley's Dark Red among them. Go to their website, check out all the great books waiting for you. You'll find full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond codes on how to order these books through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. Thanks again for listening to Word Balloon. Thank you, League of Word Balloon listeners, for your support via Patreon. Have a great weekend. Enjoy what we've already put out for you in December, whether it's the repeat of our Keith Giffen conversation from 2006, a brand new conversation with Matt Fraction about his new graphic novel, November. Yeah, we talked about it in December, but it is November. And Jimmy Olsen stuff. And then also the 2 episodes from today, Henry Barajas telling his great-grandfather's story in a great image comic, La Voz de Mayo, Tata Rambo. And, of course, you just heard it, a great conversation with Patrick Schumacher about Harley Quinn. Next week, we're going to start things off with the great David Lloyd from V for Vendetta, one of the tremendous British artists that came into American awareness with V for Vendetta. So many other great comics over the years, starting with his work at Marvel UK, and then later on with V, and some great Garth Ennis war stories, and his own Kickback as well. We talk about all that, but more importantly, his main concern and main driving creative force is as the publisher of Aces Weekly, a digital-only comic service that has an incredible lineup of creators. It's very affordable and worthy of your attention if you weren't already aware of it. He's kind of one of the last men standing as far as the digital-only product when you think of the efforts of Mark Waid and Chris Robertson and Allison Baker and some of the others that kind of went into digital right away in the early 2010s. And right now, Aces Weekly still provides a very interesting product. We talk a lot about it and David's career as a publisher and, of course, as an artist on the next Word Balloon. Until next time, thanks for listening. Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2019.